Picture this. You're sitting across from someone who has spent months, maybe years, convincing you that they are the most remarkable person you've ever met. They speak with such confidence, such authority, such charm, that you begin to question your own judgment when something feels off. They have an answer for everything, a story for every occasion, a reason why they are always the hero and never the villain. They make you feel special, chosen, honored to be in their presence, and yet deep down something doesn't add up. Something feels wrong, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. Maybe it's the way they never ask about your day, but always have stories about theirs. Maybe it's how they somehow manage to make every tragedy about their own suffering, every celebration about their own achievements, every conversation about their own experiences. Maybe it's the way they remember every compliment you've ever given them, but forget every time you've needed their support. Maybe it's how they can recall in vivid detail every moment they felt wronged, but have no memory of the pain they've caused you. Or perhaps it's something more subtle, the way their eyes seem to scan the room, even when they're supposedly listening to you, the way their empathy feels rehearsed, like lines from a script they've memorized, the way their kindness always comes with strings attached, their generosity always has a price, their love always has conditions, and their support always comes with a ledger of what you now owe them in return. You've probably tried to convince yourself that you're overthinking, that you're being too critical, that everyone has flaws and imperfections. But the doubt persists because somewhere deep in your intuition, you sense that this person is not who they appear to be, that behind their dazzling smile and captivating stories lies something else, something darker, something that feeds on your attention, your validation, your very sense of self. But what if I told you that there is one simple question, just one, that can strip away their carefully constructed facade in mere seconds? What if I told you that this question is so powerful it forces them to reveal the very thing they've been hiding from themselves and from you, their true face? What if I told you that this question doesn't require you to confront them directly, doesn't demand proof or evidence, doesn't involve arguing or fighting, but simply ask them to consider something they've never truly faced? This question is so effective that it bypasses all their defenses, all their manipulation tactics, all their ability to twist words and reshape reality, because it doesn't attack them, it doesn't accuse them, it doesn't give them anything obvious to defend against. Instead, it does something far more devastating. It forces them to look into the mirror they've been avoiding their entire lives and see not the magnificent person they pretend to be, but the empty, frightened individual who exists only when others are watching. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will change the way you see certain people forever. It will give you the ability to see through even the most convincing mask, to recognize manipulation before it takes hold, to protect yourself from those who would drain your energy, steal your peace, and make you question your own reality. And more importantly, it will give you back your power, the power to choose who deserves your time, your trust, your emotional investment, and who deserves nothing but your polite distance. There are people in this world who live not as themselves, but as a carefully crafted character they've designed to impress, to control, to dominate every conversation, every relationship, every room they enter. These individuals are masters of performance, artists of deception, who have spent so much time perfecting their act that they themselves have forgotten where the performance ends and reality begins. They move through life collecting admirers like trophies, gathering validation like a drug they cannot survive without. And the most dangerous part is that their mask is so convincing, so polished, so expertly worn, that even the most perceptive among us can be fooled, at least for a while. You see, when you first encounter them, they seem almost too good to be true. They tell stories that captivate, they share experiences that inspire, they present themselves as the kind of person everyone wishes they could be, or at least wishes they could be around. They have an opinion on everything, an expertise in every field, a connection to every important person, and somehow they always manage to be the center of every narrative, even when the story isn't supposed to be about them. They don't just tell you about their successes, they paint vivid pictures of their triumphs. They don't just mention their connections, they weave elaborate tales of how those connections came to be. And through it all, you find yourself drawn in, mesmerized by what appears to be someone truly extraordinary. But here's what they don't want you to notice. Their stories, while captivating, rarely have witnesses. Their achievements, while impressive, often cannot be verified. Their expertise, while broad, lacks the depth that comes from genuine experience. And their empathy, while performed on command, disappears the moment it requires real sacrifice or genuine understanding. Because you see, everything about them is designed for one purpose: to create an impression, not to create a connection. They are not interested in knowing you. They are interested in controlling how you see them. Watch them closely in those unguarded moments when they think no one is paying attention. Notice how their expression changes when they're not performing. Observe how they react when someone else receives praise or attention that they believe should be theirs. See how quickly their charm can transform into cold calculation when they realize someone is not buying into their carefully constructed image. Because beneath the polished exterior, beneath the confidence and charisma, there is something that terrifies them more than anything else: the possibility that someone might see through their act. They have built their entire identity on being perceived as superior, special, irreplaceable, and they will go to extraordinary lengths to maintain that illusion. They will rewrite history to make themselves look better. They will minimize your accomplishments to make theirs seem greater. They will create drama where none exists, simply to position themselves as either the victim deserving sympathy or the hero deserving praise. And if you dare to question their version of events, if you dare to point out inconsistencies in their stories, if you dare to suggest that perhaps they are not as remarkable as they claim to be, then you will witness something truly revealing. You will see their mask begin to slip. The moment you challenge their narrative, they don't respond like a normal person would. They don't pause to consider your perspective. They don't reflect on the possibility that they might be wrong. They don't engage in genuine dialogue. Instead, they attack. Not necessarily with obvious aggression, but with sophisticated manipulation. They twist your words, they gaslight your reality, they make you question your own memories, your own perceptions, your own sanity. They turn every conversation into a battlefield where the goal is not understanding but domination, where victory is not achieved through truth, but through making you surrender your own sense of reality. Try to have a genuine conversation with them about something they've done wrong and watch what happens. Instead of acknowledgement, you get deflection. Instead of accountability, you get blame shifting. Instead of genuine remorse, you get performance designed to make you feel guilty for even bringing up the issue. They are masters at making themselves the victim in every scenario, even when they are clearly the perpetrator, especially when they are clearly the perpetrator. Because admitting fault, admitting weakness, admitting that they are capable of being wrong would shatter the very foundation of their false identity. But what if there was a way to bypass all of their defenses? What if there was a way to cut through their manipulation, their deflection, their endless ability to twist reality? What if there was one question that could force them to confront the very thing they spend their entire lives avoiding? The truth about who they really are, when no one is watching, when no one is impressed, when no one is validating their existence. You see, the key to understanding these individuals is recognizing that their entire sense of self is not internal, it is external. They do not know who they are without an audience. They do not have an identity separate from how others perceive them. They are like actors who have been playing a role for so long that they have forgotten they are acting, and the character they portray has become the only version of themselves they know how to be. Their confidence is not genuine self-assurance, it is borrowed from the admiration of others. Their sense of worth is not based on their actual accomplishments, but on how impressed people are by their stories. Their feeling of importance is not rooted in their contributions to the world, but in their ability to convince others that they are indispensable. And this is where their greatest vulnerability lies, because if their identity is entirely dependent on external validation, then what happens when that validation is removed? What happens when they are forced to exist without an audience? This is the insight that changes everything, because once you understand that their power is not real, but borrowed, once you realize that their confidence is not genuine, but performed, once you see that their entire identity is nothing more than a carefully maintained illusion, then you also understand that there is a way to make that illusion crumble, not through confrontation, not through argument, not through trying to prove them wrong, but through something far more powerful, through a single question that forces them to imagine something they cannot bear to consider. The question is deceptively simple, but devastatingly effective. It doesn't attack them directly, it doesn't accuse them of anything, it doesn't give them anything obvious to defend against, and that is precisely why it works so well, because they are prepared for conflict, they are prepared prepared for accusations, they are prepared to manipulate and deflect and blame, but they are not prepared for a question that exposes the fundamental emptiness at the core of their existence. So what is this question? What are these few words that can strip away years of carefully constructed deception? What is this simple inquiry that can force even the most skilled manipulator to reveal their true face? The question is this: what would you be like if no one was watching you, if no one could see you, if no one could judge you or admire you or validate your existence? What would you be like if you were completely alone with just yourself? Watch their reaction carefully when you ask this question. Notice the confusion that flickers across their face. Observe the way they struggle to formulate an answer. See how they attempt to redirect the conversation, or make a joke, or turn the question back on you, because for the first time in perhaps their entire adult life, they are being asked to consider themselves not as a performance, not as a character they play, but as an actual person with an actual identity separate from how others perceive them. The question terrifies them because it forces them to confront something they have spent their entire lives avoiding, the possibility that without an audience, without validation, without the constant stream of admiration and attention, they might be nothing at all. It forces them to imagine existing in a space where their charm means nothing, where their stories impress no one, where their carefully crafted image serves no purpose. And in that space, they must face the most frightening question of all: who are they really? Some will laugh nervously and try to brush off the question as silly or pointless. Others will become defensive, insisting that the question itself is flawed, or that everyone needs validation and attention. Still others will attempt to turn it into an opportunity to talk about how self-sufficient and independent they are. But notice how none of them actually answer the question. Notice how they cannot describe who they would be, because they genuinely do not know. This is not a question they have ever considered, because their entire existence has been built around being seen, being admired, being validated. They have never developed a sense of self that exists independently of others' opinions. They have never cultivated interests or values or beliefs that are not designed to impress. They have never spent time in genuine solitude, exploring who they are when no one is around to be impressed by their self-discovery. The question reveals something profound about the difference between healthy confidence and narcissistic grandiosity. Healthy confidence comes from within. It is based on genuine self-knowledge, genuine accomplishments, genuine relationships, and genuine values. It does not require constant validation because it is not dependent on external approval. Narcissistic grandiosity, on the other hand, is entirely hollow. It is a performance designed to hide the fact that there is nothing substantial underneath. When you ask someone with genuine confidence what they would be like if no one was watching, they can answer easily. They might say they would still read the books they love, still pursue the hobbies that bring them joy, still hold the values that guide their decisions, still be kind, because kindness is part of who they are, not because it makes them look good. But when you ask a narcissist the same question, they are lost, because everything they do, everything they say, everything they are is designed for an audience. This is why the question is so powerful. It doesn't attack their false image directly. Instead, it simply asks them to imagine existing without the foundation that their entire identity rests upon. And when they cannot answer, when they struggle and deflect and redirect, you see their true face. Not the confident, charismatic person they pretend to be, but the empty, frightened individual who has built their entire life around avoiding this very moment of truth. But here's what you must understand about this revelation. Knowing their weakness does not mean you should use this knowledge to hurt them. It does not mean you should weaponize their vulnerability or try to destroy their carefully constructed world. Instead, this understanding should serve a different purpose. It should free you from their influence. It should help you see through their manipulation. It should give you the clarity to protect yourself from their attempts to control your reality. Once you understand that their confidence is borrowed, that their identity is performed, that their power over you is based on illusion, then you can begin to reclaim your own power. You can stop seeking their approval because you understand that their approval means nothing. You can stop trying to make them see your perspective because you understand that they are incapable of genuine perspective taking. You can stop expecting fairness or justice justice or genuine remorse, because you understand that these things require a level of self-awareness they do not possess. The most powerful thing you can do with this knowledge is to use it to achieve something they cannot give you. Freedom from their manipulation, freedom from their emotional games, freedom from their attempts to make you question your own reality, and most importantly, freedom from the hope that they will one day change, that they will one day see the damage they cause, that they will one day become the person they pretend to be. They will not change, because change requires self-awareness, and self-awareness requires the ability to exist without an audience, to reflect, without performing, to be honest, without an agenda. And these are precisely the things they are incapable of doing. Their entire identity is built on avoiding self-knowledge, on performing instead of being, on controlling others' perceptions instead of developing genuine self-worth. So when you encounter someone who fits this pattern, when you recognize the signs of someone who lives behind a mask, remember that you have a choice. You can continue to engage with their false self, hoping that somehow you can reach the real person underneath, or you can protect yourself by understanding that what you see is what you get, that the performance is not hiding a better person, but rather it is all there is. The question, what would you be like if no one was watching, serves not as a weapon to hurt them, but as a tool to free yourself. It reveals the truth that their power over you was never real. It was only as strong as your belief in their carefully constructed image. And once that belief is gone, once you see through the illusion, their ability to manipulate your emotions, to control your thoughts, to make you question your reality, disappears completely. Use this knowledge wisely, not to become like them, not to manipulate or control others, but to protect yourself, to maintain your own sense of reality, to preserve your own emotional well-being, because the greatest victory against someone who lives behind a mask is not exposing them to others. It is freeing yourself from their influence entirely. And that freedom begins with understanding that their true face is not hidden behind their mask. Their true face is the emptiness that the mask was created to hide. Remember this the next time you encounter someone whose charm seems too perfect, whose confidence seems too polished, whose stories seem too convenient. Ask yourself, what would this person be like if no one was watching? And if you cannot imagine an answer, if their entire identity seems to exist only in relation to others, then you know exactly what you are dealing with, and more importantly, you know exactly how to protect yourself. Stay strong, stay aware. And never forget that your reality is yours to define, not theirs to manipulate. And with this one simple question, you now have the power to see through any mask, no matter how convincing it might appear.